would also be helpful if we had the Parks Master Plan in front of us. I do,
From 10 years ago or 8 years ago?
but I don't know if everyone does.
See if I can blow the dust off of it.
I have one.
We're going to start. I think we have one. Go ahead.
So good evening, it's a little after 6, on September 26th, we'll start the Common Council Finance and Human Resource Committee. Common Council Member Katie LaFleur-Shu,
Present.
Common Council Member Scott Harrington, Common Council Member John Raptor. Are there any additions, subtractions, corrections to the minutes that were provided?
Not with me.
Topic A.
All right, so we are applying for Restore New York funding for 27 Market Street for the demolition and redevelopment project. Applications due October 11th, but I'm on vacation on the 7th through the following week, so this is going to be going in by October 6th. The demolition part of it is currently funded by a $477,915 Restore New York grant, but the estimate came in 3 times that much. So, and in the meantime, we have had a developer that's interested in development of it for a multi-purpose building, which would be 4 stories. The first story would have 6 to 10 commercials. On the first floor, they'd be built to suit, so that number could change. It's about 15,000 square feet. And then about another 50,000 square feet for the remaining 4 floors, the remaining 3 floors, can't count tonight. So that would be for 50 units of market rate housing on the 2nd to the 4th floor. Total project cost at this point, we're fine tuning everything between now and the final grant application, but right now it's about $16 million in total. We're going to be asking for Restore New York regular funding and special project funding for a total of up to $12 million in grant, and the balance would be provided by the developer. We have to have a public hearing, so that publication is coming out this week, and we're going to have a public hearing at the next council meeting on the 4th, along with an authorizing resolution if you move this forward.
On Restore New York, are we 5% or 10% contribution?
The developer would provide the match. I think it's a 10% match, but it's going to be about a $4 million match. So it's going to be way more than that.
So that's the 4 million.
Yeah, and that would be provided by the developer, not by us.
Okay.
We're working on, part of the grant is a commitment from the developer and the pro formas and all that, so that's in process right now.
Is it the same developer that we talked to several months ago?
Yeah,
Have we had a letter of commitment?
we're getting it, we need it with the application, so that's in the works. If we don't get it, we'll be submitting it without a developer anyway, and the plan would be that this money would provide seed money for a developer to come in if we don't have that. I'm confident we're going to have that commitment. He's been in touch with us, and his team is in touch with us, so.
So what are you looking for from this committee tonight? We're
doing an authorizing resolution, so we just want to make sure that goes on to council. So I guess you would just move it forward to council.
So there's no financial commitment coming out of the city? This is just a private partnership, private-public partnership with this developer?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
We'll move that up to full council.
Thank you.
When we add something to the agenda that has to do with a grant application, we'd like to also move forward to council, if you don't mind.
You want to put it in here now?
It was, I mean, Judy's, it involves Judy, she's been talking, so.
Okay, so we are applying for a DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, ZEV, which is Zero Emission Vehicles Infrastructure Grant, which is due this Friday. We can, because we're a disadvantaged community as designated by DEC, we can apply for up to $300,000 per location with a $500,000 total with no match. So we want to apply for sure for the parking garage, and by Friday we will determine what other sites we have to apply for. They each have to have their own application, so we've got to get this figured out pretty quick. But the plan will be to get that in for Friday for, at a minimum, the parking garage for up to $300,000 with no match. And we may look at other locations, possibly Westcott Lot, City Hall Lot, Damaski Field Lot, wherever else. And I
These
just,
are charging stations. And how much are they a piece?
I don't know yet, we have to do all that yet by Friday.
When we installed the one in the East Street lot, we did some of the work ourselves. I think this will probably be all contracted out, so it'll be more, but it was around $10,000, $12,000. $12,000 is what we ended up spending for that single two-port charging station. Probably looking more like 20, 25. I guess now.
Cool. So we'd be able to do several.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Great.
We got the full $300,000, for instance, or the $500,000. Obviously, part of our parking garage redesign includes charging infrastructure and futures.
Sure, we have to pay for that.
So is this free to the public, or is this a charge, we're actually charging the customer, the client?
We charge the customer.
Question?
I have no questions.
Thank you.
So that, I think, should be moved off. Okay.
The deadline is Friday?
It is Friday. Typically, we would have this here sooner, but I had some things get in the way. I had a death in the family, I've been off a little bit, off the rails a little bit. But the application does not require the authorizing resolution to go in with it, so I think we're good to go, but we want to make sure that we do have an authorizing resolution.
Okay.
And,
You picked up the rest, but
yeah.
All right, so, is that it, Jimmy? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, topic B, video conferencing procedures.
On Friday, you received a copy of what we're proposing to the procedures for video conference attendance by council members. At this moment, we are just recommending the common council for its meetings and its committee meetings. At the risk of reading 2 pages of boring procedures to you, does anybody have any questions?
Why just the council?
So doing just the council allows us to enact this by resolution following a public hearing. If we were to extend this to the remainder of the board's commissions, it would require passage of a local law. In addition, any meeting that is attended under Public Officers Law, Section 103, requires the ability for the public to participate as if it were an in-person meeting. So that requires a Zoom meeting for every single board and commission meeting, which is a little restricted for our office right now.
Technology-wise over there?
We're going to have some difficulties with the audio, if I were being completely honest. We have a contact through our IT vendor that we're trying to connect with. We've also reached out to a local college to try and get assistance from one of their AD personnel.
What about workload on staff?
That's why we're limiting it to just council and committees right now. Doing it just for the council at the moment does not restrict us from in the future moving forward with adding our boards and commissions.
There's no requirement that we
Even,
stream any
Yeah.
meetings. Obviously, we've gotten that habit through COVID, and it's a nice thing to go along with the public. We have the technology, as long as we figure out the issue correctly, to be able to do it now. I think, as Carrie said, doing it for committee meetings and council meetings will work. We have the staff here, and we think that's reasonable, but to do for every board commission would be a bit much right now. Maybe in the future, we can get something that's more automated, but right now, it's going to be a discussion.
John, you got anything?
No, that's reasonable.
So this, we approved something like this, right?
you approved, so it's a three-step process. We have to have an essentially resolution authorizing the ability to hold meetings under this public officers law. Then we have to have a procedure in place, which is what this document is.
Okay,
And then we have to hold a public hearing to solicit comments.
gotcha.
As of right now, that's scheduled with your approval to happen on October 4th at the time of the meeting.
Okay.
And provided everybody is in agreement, council-wise, it will be voted on and approved that night.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that I voted for it initially, so I'm happy to approve the second step. I think, in my experience, that I would really like the ability to be able to tune in whenever and be, up to date on what's going on, myself included, if I can't be here, so, yeah, it'd be cool if I wasn't able to be here, if I could just Zoom, so. And then, yeah, thank you for doing this work.
Is it?
That's all I got.
Anybody else? All right. Tree trimming and removal bid. Mr. Yacobucci.
So this is for our hazardous tree removals, stump removals, trees that need to be pruned. These are trees that are city trees, they're owned by the city, and they may pose a potential threat to the public. For the bid, we had 23 trees that need to be removed, 16 stumps that need to be ground, and 8 trees that need to be trimmed. We received 3 bids. They range between $32,175, I think the high bid was about $90,000, if I recall correctly. We would like to award the bid to the lowest bidder at $32,175, and I had his name, I'm not seeing it now.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring it.
It's
It's Karst.
Karst? Yeah. Karst is the name. Have a resolution prepared for council.
It's within our budget, right?
Yes, it's within our budget. I believe our budget was 35, something like that,
Yeah, tree trimming's gone through the roof.
yeah. A lot of it's, trees that are dying due to disease, emerald ash borer, things of that nature.
This is where you walk around with our harbor, right?
So our city forester does a review every year, keeps track of trees that are posing a threat, he makes a list, and we base the bid off of his recommendations.
And when is this expected to occur?
Just as soon as council approves, I think we have a requirement of 60 days to complete the work.
Okay. Cool. That's great, so before winter.
Yeah, get it out of the way before snow starts laying it down.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Cool.
Jim, do you have any?
No, that's great.
Go ahead. You can take me back a little.
Topic D.
So DPW residency requirement, I bring this to you guys to discuss because we're having difficulty locating employees, potential employees within the city charter going over. The city charter requires that employees at DPW must live within 30 minutes of the city. We're having great difficulty finding employees that have CDL licenses that live within that distance. We've received, say for this year, roughly 100 applications. Of those 100 applications, we only had 3 that had CDL licenses. I have a candidate right now that lives in Sherburne. They're roughly an hour away, and we would like to consider hiring them, but the current policy doesn't allow us to do that. I'd like to have a discussion about that with you guys.
Want to go?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think I can, with my limited knowledge of anything, understand why that sort of distance requirement was put in place all that time. So I was hoping you could speak a little bit to the impact that having someone more than double the callback time would have on DPW operations.
It will certainly have impact. If that person is on call, there will be a little bit more of a delay for them to respond. We've been trying to, the candidates that are within that area, a lot of them are younger. A lot of them are not interested in getting the CDL license. As you may know, the CDL is issued by the federal government, and there's requirements as far as testing, drug testing, and, with the state having changed the laws of marijuana, if that's in your bloodstream, it's void your CDL. So that has been some issue with younger employees. We're having difficulty filling these positions, so.
Chris, what do we do about the CDL aspect? Do we offer that training to them? I'm going to ask this for Dave, our transportation director also.
So we do offer it. We actually had one person recently that we hired, I want to say in November. They recently acquired their CDL license. They are a newer employee. The city has paid or is paying for their classes and the cost of the permit or the cost of the license. So we do offer that. And we have every interview that I have, we mention that to the candidates.
What is it, $100 a year now for the CDL?
It's closer to 200.
Well, just keeps going up.
The more difficult is the new requirement. I think it was February 9th of this year or 10th of this year. There is a class requirement. How much is that, Jimmy?
It's $1,200.
Yeah.
One-time class?
Well, I don't know if it's a one-time requirement. I don't know how many classes it covers.
I think it's I'm not sure how many classes it covers either, but I do know that you have to take that's $1,200. You have to take that course of classes in order to qualify to take the exam. So for someone that's only making $34,000 or $35,000 a year, that's before taxes. That's a big cut out of your pay.
Oh, absolutely.
We pay for that, though, don't we?
We do pay for it. Yeah.
So, in your opinion, is there anything additional that the city could be doing to incentivize local candidates? Or distant candidates to move locally?
I'm not sure. Pay is a big factor. I think that limits our candidates.
Do you know offhand how we compare to other municipalities in terms of pay?
Salary study.
We're doing a salary study now.
Yeah, that's if you knew, just colloquially.
I understand, there's the discussions I hear from staff. Apparently Shenango, the county of Shenango just raised their rates. Their rates are higher than ours, pay rates. I understand there are other communities that I don't know for sure.
I don't know off the top of my head. No.
Okay,
Yeah.
just curious. Yeah, the salary study will help with that.
I don't think the situation though is any different than what everybody's experiencing nationwide as far as recruitment. I don't think Oleana is unique. And, we are brainstorming different ways to make Oleana more attractive.
Yeah, I think, that's the thing that is at the heart of this for me is that, if someone wants to come work for our city, I would really, the goal for me would be to get them to want to live here too. It's not some arbitrary they need to be from Oleana to drive a plow here. It's like, how do we become attractive as a home for folks, you know, and I think that speaks to, you know, what Mark Drake is trying to do in terms of bringing people in. It feels like our employees should be the first group. So, you know, I don't want to be restrictive in any way, but I think for me, it's about brainstorming, like, how do we flip this to build a community of people who live and work here, specifically for the city, you know?
I think pay again is the biggest factor. I mean, we're competing with not even municipalities, but other stores that are paying $17, $18 an hour, you know, at a fast food restaurant or, you know, a box store. You know, granted, the benefits, we have good benefits here, so their benefit package isn't quite what ours is. But still, you know, some of these potential candidates that don't have families, maybe they're individuals, they're not looking for the benefits, so it's hard to
Sure.
And then
track them.
Katie, to what I was saying one other time was, couldn't we structure a different pay rate for, say, they didn't want health insurance and stuff,
Oh,
or
interesting.
whatever, but they can make this, but then if they decided that they wanted the health insurance when they started a family, then, you know, obviously.
Yeah, sort of like the same total cost, but how you structure what you make would vary based on the individual. That's interesting. I don't know if that would be legal.
It's legal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you we
Oh,
have,
why not?
sorry.
No, please.
We have,
It's legal, and the specifics, devil's in the details.
so we've had posting for these two positions since April-ish, I think, May maybe. And we only have 3 CDL candidates, and one we offered to that lives nearby is not returning her calls. When we interviewed them, they said that they had half a dozen offers at other places, so we're competing with that.
We've had more people not show up to interviews that are scheduled this year than I've ever heard.
I bet you I've had at least 8 cancellations in the last, well, they didn't cancel, they just didn't show in the last 3 weeks, last month, at least 8 of them.
And you're trying to hire 3.
And we're trying to hire 2 streets, 1 building and grounds, and 1 water treatment operator. So I have 4.
You have 2 candidates that have CDLs?
I have-
Live outside the district, or you got 1 that lives outside?
I have 1 that was outside the district, outside the half hour, and I have 1 that is not getting back to us. We actually gave him a deadline today of whether he's going to take the job or not. We offered it to him about a week or so ago, and he never called us back.
I mean, I certainly think, well, so what department would this person be hired?
This person will be hired for
For
streets.
streets, okay. I mean, I certainly think that with winter impending, it makes sense. You know, we're not going to solve the residency problem here in this meeting, so.
And I'm only asking for this 1 waiver, just 1 waiver. I'm not asking for this to be a policy.
Okay.
It's just a one-time waiver at this point.
For how long?
Well, that's a good question. Could we put a time on it? Do you think there's any intent at any time for this person to move closer? I mean, you really think they're going to drive from Sugar? I'm sorry, I just talked about that. The drive from Sugar is like not a nice one on a summer day.
This person is interested in the benefits as a family. His current job, I believe, is to have him traveling. Right now, I think he said he was in Maine. He's been in California. He's looking for a home base, so an hour ride to him is much better than another state.
Sure. Being gone for 4 or 5 days.
But, well, he talked months. He's been gone, so.
I guess one way to look at it too, yeah, there's already CDL, but if he does jump ship, he will should be. Maybe so.
Right.
I mean, I'm not, I'll tell you, honestly, I'm not very excited about at least staying in an hour. Especially during winter, when with the weather, he's gonna be on the sea coast, not be up here a while. So his hours gonna turn into 2 hours a day here. So I'm not real, I'll be honest with you, I'm not real hooked on saying this.
I certainly understand the sentiment. I wouldn't be coming to you unless I was as desperate as I am, as we are.
That's why I wait. first part of the covenant is whatever we're really on, is already CDL. I mean, if we're paying for CDL, I think we like a hard fast.
I agree with you.
But I think at this point, it would be, you know, bodies and money, having to look at it.
Chris, what do you think of the 1 year?
I can ask him if that would be, if he'd be willing to do that.
We can come visit
I think
again.
right now it's 6 months.
6 months later.
They have to move into the city within 6 months of hire. Do you recall?
I don't remember what was in the contract, I'm sorry.
So there's also a contract.
Well, no, this is, I don't know what it says in the union contract.
It's actually in the city charter, it's not a union, it's not a union requirement.
The city charter requires they would do it within a half hour, within 6 months of a permanent appointment. There is a section of waivers. Time to time, so we may find it impractical to recruit new employees with certain specialized skills for within the designated residency region. After a recruitment effort which is deemed both extensive and exhausted by legislative resolution, the common council may waive the residency requirement by resolution of 3/4 majority of council with a 6-month vote. Such waiver shall not violate the legislative determination of the designated residency of employees in the departments. It's a waiver for one person. So it doesn't, if you waive it through this process, you're waiving it permanently. I suppose there could be discussion with the city charter, like there's caveats. But according to this, you have the ability with a 3/4 vote of council.
Yeah, there's some. Really, again, in the city charter, it doesn't say that it's permanent, right?
I mean, it doesn't say the word permanent. It doesn't say what they also said we have in the requirements.
Right, I mean, what do you think of that? I don't know, I'm just adding on there that we had just 6 more months to be already in the charter of 6 months.
Yeah.
It gives you 12 months as one of the supervisors to oversee. This is not all the employee. There's nothing that stops you from coming back and asking for a permanent waiver.
Okay.
But I just don't feel comfortable having a permanent waiver for one individual. I understand that having been an employee for the city going on for 26 years, I understand when we set precedents, we set precedents.
They're a provisional employee for 1 year, so
But
I can
the
also,
other part that I'm interested in that, in the Department of Public Works, where you don't make your probationary employees do things that other senior employees don't do anymore. And the CDL will be probably one of those factors, in my mind.
so requiring them within that 12-month period to get their CDL.
Correct. But I don't know. It sounds like you're having a very hard time getting employees to begin with.
Yes. Is that something we have to negotiate with CSEA?
I don't understand the question.
You're basically saying that if we hire someone that doesn't have a CDL, that we require them as part of staying an employee, within 12 months they obtain their CDL.
That's a civil service thing, so it goes to the job description. If the job description requires a CDL, then you can require them to have it, you know, based on whatever the job description may say. It may say you have a certain amount of time, or it may say you have to have it upon hire. Without having it in front of me, I'm not sure what our NPO and the CHIO says. If we hire maintenance workers, which is what we've been doing, like the example Chris said, we trained a guy, he got a CDL, and then we promoted him to NPO. We can't require a maintenance worker to get a CDL within a certain period of time.
No, but we're talking about a heavy equipment operator now, correct?
Well, he would have a CDL, right?
Yes,
Right. But that's what you were trying to fill, that void was an equipment operator.
correct.
So why wouldn't we want to require them to have a CDL within the 12 months of being hired?
But then this person had, well,
This person does, but you could get somebody else.
so the positions available are maintenance worker, heavy equipment operator, what's the other one, Greg? What's the other term? Motor equipment operator, thank you, NAO.
NPO, HEO, those titles require a CDL. If we can get someone that has a CDL, we'll hire them in one of those titles based on their experience and qualifications. If we have no other option, which we've had most of this year, we've been hiring maintenance workers and then hoping to train them to get their CDLs. So we wouldn't hire somebody in HEO or any outside that didn't already have CDL.
You know, and just to express the need for the CDL drivers, you know, every time we need to move an excavator, we get a Class A CDL driver. If someone's on vacation or someone calls in sick, you know, each time those people are out, it's less flexibility we have with our crew. So the more people we have with CDL, the more versatile we are.
And there's no way, I know Dave's looking for CDL drivers also, but there's no way of sharing that same city employee that drives the bus to handle those needs that you want?
I believe they're totally different CDLs. I think theirs is a Class B with a passenger endorsement.
Yeah, they might not have a Class A.
Yeah,
Class B, they might have a Class A, but it depends on. And that, just another aside, I guess, to go from a Class B to Class A requires that course as well. It's already a course.
So can I?
We have had, I'm sorry,
No, let's go.
we have had a few instances where we've shared some employees between OBCD and DPW, but where it's made sense and it's, you know, employees been willing to do it, we've had an opportunity to take advantage of it.
So someone without a CDL has to be hired to the maintenance worker position. There's no way to hire them to the heavy equipment operator and, like Glenn said, put the requirement that within 12 months.
Right now, no, I think we'd have to change the job description,
Mhm.
the civil service job description to be able to do that.
Okay.
All
I don't say
non-CDLs.
we can't do that for certain, I believe that we can
Yeah.
talk
I
about.
mean, that would certainly relax the requirements of candidates, you know, and getting more candidates, eligible candidates for the role, going forward, if that was an option.
One of the questions we ask the candidates that are the maintenance worker type candidates, we ask them if they are interested in obtaining a CDL. We explain that the city would pay for their training and their licensure, and not all of them show interest because of that other caveat I mentioned earlier.
Maybe the other thing you gotta think about with CDLs too is you under B&T fall underneath a whole different regs, whether you're actually in performance for the city or you're in your personal car. You fall underneath the CDL even if you're on your personal car. So, you know, like if, I'm not condoning drink and drive, but if you have one drink or, you know, whatever, it's, I think it's 0.05 for CDL or something like that, you're legally drunk. You know, mind you, whatever, I know they changed the VAT since I was enforcement. That's the other thing too, is why some people don't want a CDL.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess, maybe I misinterpreted the statistic, but you said that there were 100 candidates and only 3 had CDL, so 97 of them theoretically did not, but they applied to this position where they could obtain their CDL, right?
That's true.
Okay.
The issue is they're not the top.
Yeah. I mean, if they're willing, it seems like those 97 people are willing to get their CDL, so if we were able to relax that requirement to give them 12 months to get it, if they didn't already have it, specifically if the city were willing to pay for it, that would.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case, though.
Right.
I wonder how many are candidates that
Qualify. That's
That's what I was just gonna say, is out of those 100, it didn't mean all 100 qualified even for an interview.
right.
That's fair, yeah, totally, but it's more than 3,
Yeah.
so.
Basically, you can file a mirror when they're interviewing you.
What did you say?
If you can file a mirror, you know, they're interviewing you.
I know, that's across so many positions
So what
Do we pay for their insurance increase also?
I don't believe so, no.
How expensive is that for them? Is that maybe another deterrent?
I haven't heard that come up.
I've never heard that as an
Okay.
issue. I don't know. Their personal vehicle?
Yeah, I just remember a couple guys in the department, when they got their CDL, it affected their insurance, but.
Maybe a nice perk.
No, please, no, sorry.
No?
I would not support that.
Oh,
It would get into too many it would get into too many.
You could just call it a stipend. You could do a stipend. But, I don't know, I don't think we're gonna solve the problem. So I'm willing to say a 1 year, for me, I'm looking at a 1 year waiver, and you can come back and visit us again in a year, before the year, and you have a very good employee, stays with you.
Can I just ask a question about what the process would be to change the job description if we were interested in doing that?
We'd have to work with the Civil Service Commission.
Okay, cool.
Would the union have to be involved too? Because you're changing descriptions or?
It depends.
Well, not necessarily, because at the civil service level, they're getting them before they become a union employee.
Yeah, just altering the job description, probably at that level would not affect.
Right. New employees coming in, affects them. Okay. Are you guys good with this? Going a 1 year duration on the waiver? Do you want to go with it?
I think we're going to give us that flexibility
I mean, you can also let them know too, is we're starting to try to review as well.
Okay.
So that's an area where we're looking to try.
I'll just be happy to fill a position for the winter. That's, thank you. So I can go back to the candidate.
So we'll do that on the full council, we're in consent, that it'll be a 1 year waiver.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
No, thank you for working so hard to get us where we are. Not easy. Do we want to topic E now, or?
Topic E,
You said
policy. Oh. I would wait. I would try to do all like the boxable items.
Why don't we go on to topic F?
We received another restricted donation for the Swart Wilcox, and we just need to bring a motion to council to accept it.
Is there anybody on this committee not willing to accept money? That'd be a big fat no.
Can I just ask what it's for?
It's restricted for the Swart Wilcox and its programs, and it's built up.
Cool, thank you.
Topic G.
I just wanted to let you know, all of you got an email from me last week, and the 2021 audited financial statements are complete. The council needs to pass a motion accepting them. Then I have to run a legal ad to let the public know that they're available for read. We are going to be setting up a Zoom presentation with Jonathan Gibbs, who's our auditor partner. We need to get the audio to work, so he will be able to hear you, you'll be able to hear him, but he won't be able to hear us.
As it stands now.
Yeah, so we want to do this in October, but I wanted to bring it to the committee. I'm hoping that we can get it on the next council agenda, at least to accept the financials, so that way I can get the legal ad done, and then we can do the presentation at the next council meeting, the second one in October, if that's okay.
Works for me. I apologize, I haven't made it through it all.
That's okay. If anybody has any questions, as I said in the email, I'll be happy to explain any of the sections.
So the committee will approve that you're going to have a resolution in front of the council at the next.
Yeah, to accept the financial statements, yes.
It's a lot of reading.
Yeah, we should probably let everybody know that they should read it. Before the next council meeting. Start now.
I don't know how you do it, I gotta go and take breaks from
There's a lot of information there. That's why I said for the quick read, if you just want to read the MD&A, that's where basically I just get to summarize very quickly for people who don't want to get into the real detail of it. And I also try to highlight our accomplishments in our capital projects, what our grants are doing and things like that. Also, subsequent events is at the end of the financial statements. That's also a very good thing to read, to find out what happened since that financial statement was dated. We talk about the bond issue, we talk about all the grants that the city has been awarded, things like that. But I feel that it was a very good close of 2021, and I thank everyone for all of their work and effort.
Since you brought up bond, I got a quick question on bond issues. Water and sewer does not go against us, correct?
Our water automatically does not go against our debt limit. Sewer, you have to apply an application to the state to have it waived. Part of our sewer debt right now is exempt. I'm having bond counsel apply for the rest of the sewer. I'm going to have them wait until after our permanent financing with the wastewater treatment plant is in place. Then that will also not go against our debt limit.
Thought that's what you said, but I couldn't remember anyway. You still have to pay that. I don't think she's gonna pay that.
I'm trying to find, I thought we had it at the last council meeting. The ARPA. I'm trying to find it, but
It's in your email.
there it is.
Like Monday or Tuesday of last week.
Was it number you said, Nick?
Tuesday.
Was that from you, Brady?
Yeah. With ARPA, that was Sunday.
I'll try it that way. I just figured out there was a search program. I found that whole thing out like 2 days ago. I was like, this is awesome. I'm not a techie kid.
Be accurate to that throw. I don't want to get hit. Okay, so at this point, which part of this do you, Katie or Scott, want to talk about with Barbara?
I think that overall, I think that we agreed to spend the first allotment of ARPA funds on parks projects. I know that there is a lot of thought that went into what these projects are. I don't feel that in the moment we had the opportunity to discuss each of these projects, figure out even the order in which we would like to accomplish them, really. I know that, or if these are the projects in the parks that we would like to accomplish with these funds. I know that we don't have the Parks Master Plan in front of us, but I think that that would be helpful to look at. Well, not even really, because
Well,
it's
can
so
we just
tight.
use you that have read the master plan? Where do these items fall into that master plan? Are you and Greg,
Memorized.
No,
but I could pull it up. But Greg would be better to speak to that.
This list is on the Newell Park master plan. We only have a master plan for Newell Park specifically. That was last updated in 2013.
Oh, and I did want to say that the reason why the Parks and Rec Commission put out a survey about Wilbur Park is because there is not currently a master plan for Wilbur Park. So it does not necessarily get included in things like this because it's more reactive at this point than proactive. So, sorry to interrupt, I just want to say that at the last meeting, so I'll put it in here.
So I just point on the list that Newell Park electric infrastructure improvements, that was not on the master plan, but that last year was identified, with the success of the Winter Festival and all that, as a priority. So we added that as a top priority. You want no race paved pathways, that is on the master plan, that's the other one we completed. Performance development stages on the master plan, Willowwood Trail Bridge, obviously not Miller Park, it's not in the master plan, but that's something that's missing entirely. There's a hole in the trail, you can't get across.
Gotta watch that last step.
Miller Park basketball court number 1 relocation, that was part of the master plan. The court number 1 is the one closest to the playground. The other court was recently reconstructed 4 or 5 years ago, I think. Master plan shows eliminating the one that's by the playground, reconstructing it right next to the new one. Skate park rehabilitation, that's not on the master plan because that's more of a maintenance repair type of project. Obviously, the skate park's been in existence for 20 plus years, needs some repairs. I know Councilmember Davies has been reaching out to some industry experts and he's going to connect us with them so we figure out what the actual scope of work might be that's needed there. That $40,000 estimate is really, I'd say useless at this point. We need to develop the actual scope of work and figure out what exactly needs to be done there.
We're talking about the building itself?
The skate park? Not the skate house.
Where's the skate park?
Plus that concrete short trail on the dog.
The dog park? Concrete skateboard park.
Oh, that type of stuff. Sorry, I was thinking ice skating.
That's why I'm on the longest side there.
Wheels.
Okay, gotcha.
That's how I do it.
His job corps originally did that several years ago.
2002 or 2000.
Yeah, 2 decades, yeah. It's actually about very long.
Does that get used a lot?
It's in rough shape,
Yeah, it has not.
very bad shape.
People use it, I don't have any data,
I don't know for that, I was just, like, when it was in its usable,
Yeah.
Because I don't skateboard, I'll be honest with you, that's
Probably a good thing.
I'm gonna do my best to locate the petition that was circulated either late 2019 or early 2020, but right before COVID. There was a petition going around to rehab the skate park, and it had like a lot of signatures on it. I don't want to guess how many, but they basically never came because of COVID, and I don't know what happened to it. So I'm gonna do my best to find that, and if it doesn't exist anymore, maybe encourage them, just to give everyone an idea of the desire for the rehabilitation of that facility.
but I was just thinking, like, is like rollerblading still,
Yes,
you know,
and roller skating,
so
like derby
would
is
it
huge.
be looking at that particular portion, should look at expanding its use for such as skateboards, but so like rollerbladers that, I see them on YouTube, they're jumping up on line down rails and
Oh, yeah. And roller derby, the roller derby team, which is a really popular recreational activity in our community, is kind of advocating for maybe like a track around the outside so that they could roller skate there as well.
Yeah, I think, first step in my mind would be looking at what we have existing, determining what ought to be done as recommended by skate park designers and users. And then if there's other things that could be added, or if it doesn't need to be completely reconstructed, and in which case, are there minor repairs we can do in the meantime to keep what we have functioning, and then maybe plan for a bigger project down the line if that's desired. I think to build a really nice skate park, to some high standard would be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Absolute projects. So ultimately, what do we end up doing? I think talk to somebody who knows.
Totally.
So that's where Councilmember Davies is coming in, and he's going to, so.
It's got contacts.
Okay.
Connect them with me.
Good. Why don't we move on then to the next item?
So meanwhile, playground improvements, I don't know that was, I can't remember if that's specifically called out in the master plan, but it was something that had been discussed, maybe with the Parks and Rec Commission in the past. In 2018 or 19, thereabouts, we kind of talked about parks priorities, looking at the master plan, but also other things that had come up since 2013, and had a list of things that was on that. This would be adding shade structures. I would be want to plant some trees around there for some longer term permanent shade structures, but Also ADA accessible playground equipment. That's the goal of that.
$35,000 is enough?
I don't know, just one, probably. That was an estimate. I don't know less than back then.
We put canopies over the playground areas too. I've seen that.
Right, but I think it's important to have ADA compliant playground equipment.
Oh, yeah. Recreation Park in Binghamton is a really great example of an ADA compliant playground. It's beautiful, and they used a semi-local, different Ithaca, the firm who designed it. But anyway, it's great. I mean, to see all kids being able to play,
Right.
it's really good. Yes.
Last thing on the list was the New York Park Main Drive sidewalk. The number 13,244 listed there, as it says, was reduced from $175,000. We just shifted money around to cover the actual costs of the first two projects. So for all intents and purposes, if you're looking at this list, that last one is not going to happen for $13,000.
And so that's where I was asking the council, I'm sorry to just keep jumping in, I feel very passionate about this topic. So, that's where I was asking the council, I don't know how long ago, to consider the remainder, whatever that is, if it's too small to do any specific project, to be able to allocate that to public art, which is another outdoor public enjoyment type of category. So I just want to put that back in there too.
You could put up little things that people could paint along the way.
Sure.
Okay.
Bring it to
So
the commission.
I guess as this committee, are we prioritizing this? I'm asking the committee as a whole, are we prioritizing this list? Are we saying, no, we're going to allow city staff to prioritize it and allocate the funds? Or are we going to move this up to a full council discussion?
So it was just discussed in Quality of Life Committee as well. And I think that they are expecting to see this back on their agenda next month. And I'm not sure what they're, but Councilmember Risberger was suggesting, and I think that this is a good idea, to sort of move up the things that move up on the priority list, things that there is sort of no contest. You know, if we're all feeling like we want to do Overlake Trail Bridge replacement, like, move that up, you know, and then to debate the things that we're not sure of. So for example, I would say that the basketball court relocation is maybe not a priority, because I know that they were talking about in the last committee, relocating a basketball court in Wilbur Park, which is a separate and distinct issue, except that, you know, we may need those funds to do that if that's what the council decides. You know, $100,000 $100,000 for the skate park or $100,000 for the playground would go certainly a lot farther. Also, basketball is kind of a contact sport, and one of the last ones to be reapproved when things started to open back up. So in my mind, that doesn't really fit. But that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Was just that they've also discussed it in the clip. So I don't know that we have the. I mean, of course we can put it on the agenda, but it's not us or nothing.
Thoughts, John? So, I guess, these are items that we're looking at, we're not introducing anything new.
Not necessarily.
I understand the programs.
No. I mean, but if there was something on the, even if it wasn't on the master plan, as long as, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeannie, but as long as it's an expenditure within the Parks and Rec umbrella, right? Because that's what we committed to as a council, that it would be, like, that we didn't commit to the individual projects. We committed to the direction of the expenditure.
we come up with a spending plan that is subject to change depending on cost estimates and council's future decisions.
Okay. So I think short answer then, you wanted to do something else, put it on the table.
Well, I think we need to also be mindful of our city documents, our strategic plan and our comprehensive plan. Make sure that these items, and I have crossed overlaid them to those two documents, as anybody else. And did we do a new plan for 22, Ray? I think it was the strategic plan.
Well, the budget process we've gone through this year up to now has essentially been our strategic planning sessions, the level of service
For 23.
and it's not completed. Our next step is department heads, how are we going to prioritize these?
Yeah, we did one in 19 and 20, and I got 21, so I think I have 19 and 20, that was one, and then 21 was by itself, so we didn't do anything for 22, and we're looking at the budget process for 23.
Yeah. The strategic plan that was originally created, previous council, plan came out,
Some years ago.
and then it was updated, as things were checked off, or priorities changed. I think the way we're going about it now is a much better way. It's going to be feeding right into the budget. We'll have some feedback from the department head. We'll present that draft budget that will say, council will prioritize these 25 things out of 72. Here's how we hope to address those. And here's also what we're doing with the remainder. And that will kind of strategic plan as part of the budget document this year.
So then I guess I ask you the question, out of those items that are listed there, or anything to do with Woodward Park or Newell Park, cross over to the strategic plan or the budget process, what do you see?
Well, the strategic plan is not, at this point, that specific. We've identified the top priorities or service areas that we want to focus on. Best, you want to increase, you want to maintain, you want to decrease. There are no decreases, there are 25 increases that we want to maintain. Obviously, absent probably a lot more money in our budget, we're not going to necessarily increase or maintain all of those, but not everything requires money. That might be a different strategy to get a major cost impact, but that's kind of what we're going to have to go through. If I look at parks and recreational facilities, and recreational programs were 25 top priorities identified. So I would say that all of these projects are recreational facilities.
I think with that too, because I know we also did recreation, I don't know if there was recreational programs was one of the 25, but I think one of the things that was really, really smart in this planning process with city staff was the sustainability of these expenditures. So, for example, we could fund a city recreation program for, I don't know, a couple of years maybe with the ARPA funds, but they're not, then after that we wouldn't have the funding to maintain it. So these are all things that could be done and then would have a lasting impact, which I thought was smart thinking.
Yeah. The one-time expenses, big expenses, obviously there's maintenance involved in skate park, but we're at skate park, so part of it is
Yeah.
maintaining what we have.
Yeah, it's not like county EMS where they got sort of some money and then they're not sure after that. There's none of that going on here. Which I appreciate.
I don't know where that one came from, but okay.
What do you mean?
The county EMS.
Oh, that's just a thing where I was like, why would they do that? But I'm not on that board, so.
Okay. Scott? Your contribution into this discussion has been limited. I'd like to give you the floor.
My presence was enough.
No way.
This is just the first round monies, right? This isn't,
Yeah.
the 713 from 2021 ARPA. There's another 713 from 2022 that we haven't committed to anything in particular yet.
The suggestion for that was infrastructure though, right?
Yeah, when we talked about it last budget cycle, we talked about infrastructure.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, water, because water was one of the ones we could use up.
Specifically, I was thinking of the River Street
Right.
water main replacement and associated improvements project that we're still hoping to be doing next year.
And that is one of the purposes for ARPA funding is water and sewer infrastructure. So we thought that's why the second half would be a good target for it. Obviously, it's open for discussion.
I'm, like I said, quality of life is, I'm good with the overall projects. Some of it, like I said before, was the understanding, like with the meeting stand specifically.
Right. Is Moore Plaza considered a public park?
No,
No.
it's not a park. It's similar. You can call it recreational if you're in some shape, some sense, but more of a programming space for entertainment, I guess.
We could put a building on it if we chose to.
You know, small group.
Just throwing that out there.
I'm just saying.
That's what exactly what I was thinking, we could just build like a permanent little,
Of course, we'd have to check with code because of the entrance to the Clarion.
right?
Curious what our community developers think about that idea.
You don't want to know
Oh,
what's...
yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk more about that one.
Do you feel everybody's eyes come on you when I was saying?
Yes, maybe we might become development tomorrow.
Yeah. Why don't we table this, and for our next meeting, though we meet more than other committees, come up with some suggestions. You need to prioritize this, you can slide something else in, and let's have a continual discussion. You guys seem to be a little quiet, I'm not sure why, but we've spent quite a few minutes on this topic, and I'd like to keep moving forward. So why don't we table this, and you guys can come back in 2 weeks, and we'll look at these prioritized and/or new items interjected.
Sounds good.
And then just to add to that, this is for preparation for the budget discussion on the ARPA funds.
Yes.
Because, so it will be discussed at council at full.
Okay. Topic H.
You have a recommended candidate for Human Resources Director to bring forward to the council. If you'd like to discuss the qualifications of the individual, we can do that in executive session.
Sure.
Why don't we do that?
So, for the executive session, we'll discuss personnel matter leading to the appointment of the individual.
So moved.